the live relay இது so 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 Good afternoon, all of you. We have an exciting match on the cards today. The quarterfinal tiebreak of the FIDE Women's World Cup 2025 between Divya Deshmukh and Harika. So, to refresh your memory, basically in other quarterfinal matches, Humpy, Indian Grandmaster, the pride of India, already qualified to the semifinals by defeating Yuxin Song with a score of 1.5. And in two more quarterfinals, we had Lei Tingjie advancing to the semifinal, beating Nana Jagnidje with a 2-0 score, and Vaishali, unfortunately, going down to Tan Zhongyi with a score of 0.5 to 1.5. So we have the fourth match now between Harika and Divya, which reached 1 each, and now basically as the quarterfinals have started. The moves have started coming now. I hope you are able to see them on your screens. So we have a Joko piano and Divya has gone for a sharp variation. She has gone for D4, the sharp variation, ED4, E5, D5. So you can say this is a hybrid of the two knights. Interestingly, this is one of the variations which is suggested by Vladimir Kramnik as the best for white. So I'm very sure that Divya has come to the table with well-armed, basically, for this match. So the position is level here almost. There is almost nothing to choose between these two positions. I mean, either white or black here. It's just an equal position. Now, this is a very interesting moment on the board. Harika is taking her time. You know, if you know this, Dronavalli Harika is one of the most well-prepared players in the circuit, especially in India. To put it her own words, during Kolkata Tata Steel Rapid and Blitz games 2 years ago, she said, I prepare for Blitz, I prepare for Bullet, I prepare for regular, I prepare for everything. So this is a player who comes well-prepared everywhere. So here you saw a precise move here playing bishop at f3. Of course, the alternative is bc6, of course. But bc6 basically after ef6, bishop f3, this is the point here. This leads to a very complex position. So black goes for bishop f3 first, gf3, bc6, and now f4. Now, first thing that tells me when you look at the board, guys, I hope all of you are there and all of you are following me. The first thing when I look at the board, what is the very first element in this position you should be looking at? Let me ask you all of All a question. What is the most significant feature of this position? How many of you are there? I'm curious, listening to me right now. Are you guys there at all? Let me get my ChessBase India stream to see how many of you are right now following this. Yeah, we go to live chat and okay, we haven't had much of audience starting as it seems right now. Okay, in any of these positions here, when you actually look to judge a position, the books of chess, the basics of chess will all tell you to look at center control, development, and all. But in practical games, the very first thing you should be looking at is the king in the center, the king position. And especially here, if you see, the king in the center is a very important piece here. So, looking at white's king on e2, the very first conclusion that we should draw here is that Divya is taking a risk in this position. If you look at our evaluation bar, it says probably slightly better for white. Yeah, just cross the equal mark. But don't get fooled by this. This is an explosive position. With a king on e2, only computers can tell this is 0.00 and make us believe it. Believe me, human beings cannot sit lethargic in this position, both with white as well as black, that with a king on e2, this can be equal. This is the very first thing. But what makes it interesting is that this is typical Divya. Divya is a dynamic player. By nature, she goes for more tactical positions. Of course, that doesn't mean that, Harika is of a different style. Harika, I would say, is a universal player. Harika is capable of playing any kind of chess. Whereas Divya, she loves her tactics. So I'm not at all surprised that Divya is basically has skipped her king on e2 here. Yeah, Harika is a stronger player. Harika is a grandmaster, one of the best performance for India all over the years. She basically is someone who is an established player. So this is a game I see between, typically they say, a young Turk versus the experienced player. She's still, age-wise, she is still young. So something stops me from calling Harika a veteran. But in fact, if you see her experience in chess, the first time I saw Harika playing seriously was 2002 National Women Championship. I was playing the men's section and she was playing the women's section. So that's 23 years ago, Harika was playing the nationals of our country. That's the kind of experience that we are talking about when it comes to Harika. So looking at it that way, Divya is much, much younger. Rating wise, there is not much to choose from. But of course, when it comes to experience, once again, Harika scores it very high. Obviously, a veteran of so many Olympiads for the country. So I'm not surprised that White has chosen this opening position. This is one. And as of now, the king on e2 has nothing to complain against. Now, the second question, in the long run, listen to me carefully. In the long run, what do you think is Black's problem? These are the two things for you which will unlock the mysteries of this position. What is White's or rather, what is the most significant part of this position? What is the most significant element of this position? So that will give you, basically it is the king on e2. But if you look at black, yeah, what is the most significant part of black's position here? Can anyone tell me? Yeah, I have played with her twice. Thank you, Nikita. Lost once, drew once. Fantastic chess player, and Harika is a very enthusiastic young woman with so much interest in chess. Somewhere around 2008 or so, uh, me, Harika, Grandmaster, Kidambi, and uh, another woman player, we shared a journey in um, Hungary. We had to reach the Hungarian airport, and the journey was 6 hours. The whole 6 hours, Harika kept on giving us positions to solve one by one. I would never forget her interest levels in chess. Fantastic player, excellent player. So, any answers for this? What do you think is significant in Black's position here? Doubled pawn. That's true. The c5 pawn and the c7 pawn are indeed doubled here. But as you can see, they will be exchanged any moment. Okay. So that is not significant. It is significant, but it is going to um, uh, vanish away from the board. Yeah. Any other thing can you get me? Pressure on the G file. That's very true. White has developed pressure, but one important part is white doesn't have many pieces to attack. See, if there is a light square bishop on the board for white, white will have a thumping advantage immediately, which has been exchanged away. So, yeah, white has doubled her rooks on the G file, but it's a question as to whether anything will come out of it. Yeah, that's a different thing. Anything else? B file, yeah, it's a factor, but it's not a factor right now because black doesn't have time. White doesn't have time, you can say, to get to the B file. Yeah, very good. Debanjan E9P1U. What a name, man. Bad bishop for black. All the pieces on the board are working very well, the major pieces. The bishop on E3 for white is not doing much. The bishop on A5 is not doing much. The bishop on E3 has one role to play. For example, if and when black recaptures EF5 and white recaptures, sorry, FE5 and FE5, the bishop on E3 becomes an important piece, guarding the king side in general. And right now, the D4 point it is guarding. This is very important. These are things you should note. So, at some point, the bishop on E3 will become the soulmate of bishop on A5 because the bishop on A5 will go to B6 and will ultimately attack the D4 pawn. You know, this is a very important thing, very interesting thing I should tell you. Imagine a position where the white bishop is on E3 and the black bishop is on B6 and there is a pawn on D4 attacking. In that position, which is a good bishop, which is a bad bishop? Think before talking is a trick question. Which is a good bishop, which is a bad bishop? I'm really enjoying teasing you guys here. By the way, white has moved to king f1. Time wise, both are okay. Divya is on 13 minutes. Harika has 11 minutes. Not much to choose from. So, time wise, they both are doing fine. Both bad, says Uttaran Saha. Okay. Obviously, both cannot be bad. White is worse than blacks. That's how it looks like. Yes, sir. Long time. Nice seeing all of you. B6 bishop is good in that case, says Aryan Dvivedi. Correct. The B6 bishop looks good. Yeah. But here comes an important point. When the black bishop goes to B6, the white bishop is on E3. The black bishop spends his life, attacking the pawn on D4. The white bishop spends his life um, supporting D4. There is a beautiful theory by Max Uwe that in such positions, the bishop on E3 is not a bad piece at all because it has the important role of defending D4. And as long as it scuttles the black bishop on B6, attacking D4, the bishop on e3 defending d4 is an equally good piece. Very, what to say, these are positional concepts we learn only by, analyzing, enjoying, knowing the depth of wisdom which comes from great players such as Max Euwe. So, not much to choose from in terms of the bishop on e3 or a bishop on b6. Is something happening with my broadcast? Yeah, okay. I think so far everything is fine. Yeah. Now white has moved the king to f1. Okay, now Harika goes a little less on time. She's on 9 minutes. This is a next important thing all of you should know. When you're watching a game, there is a very good way that you can train yourself. Harika took her time. How much time she took? I'll try to find out as we talk. She went queen c6 and she took quite some time before going queen c6. Yeah. Now, my question to you is this was an important moment, yeah, where black went queen c6. She took quite some time because at that moment she had to choose between many continuations. For example, she could have taken c cross d4, c cross d4, f cross e5, and all that. Or she could have gone queen a6 check and all that. But she chose to go queen a6 in this position. Yeah, queen c6 in this position. We call these moments as turning points. What is a turning point? It is that moment where one of the sides takes her time and comes up with a new move, which in her opinion meets the demands of the position. This is called as a turning point. You have to think differently from what you have thought before when you are going to such questions. Now, Harika took about 4 minutes and played queen c6. This is a bit of an error, unfortunately. So, a better continuation would have been f cross e5, f cross e5, queen a6 check, king g2. So, what am I trying to do here? When I play f cross e5, f cross e5, queen a6, king g2 is that. After which, now black plays queen c6, let us say. Yeah, this is an interesting moment for me. So, why is it an interesting moment? I'm sorry, did I disturb the board? I shouldn't have done that. Okay, I won't do that again. So, the difference is on the board right now, we have this position where she went queen c6 directly. Yeah. And this is precisely the reason white chose d cross c5. Guys, watch extremely carefully. This is a critical moment. That's another kind of a moment you should all learn how to recognize on the board. The difference between a critical moment and a turning point is that a turning point is one when one of the sides make a decision and goes in a new direction with a small plan in mind. A critical moment is one of the sides has to find the best. If the best move is not found, a winning position becomes drawn or even lost. A drawn position becomes lost. Rapper Saravanan OP, really? Am I talking so fast? I thought talking fast is the property of Sagar Shah. I shouldn't be doing that. Just joking. So, why in this position she is allowing it as d cross e5, d cross e5, f cross e5, f cross e5. Now, black has the choice to play rook cross e5, let us say. If black takes rook e5 in this position, Yeah, she has played it on the board. Now the white bishop comes to d4. The white bishop on d4 now joins pressure on the king's side. It exerts considerable pressure on the g7 square. This is extremely important. Now, if black had executed the whole thing after taking everything, now if d cross e5, this is the point. d4 check wins the game. d4 discovered check wins the game here. That is why in this position, where black played queen c6, it was important for Harika to give a check first and then go to queen c6, stopping d cross e5. I hope you got the beauty of it. So queen c6 is a small error, and Divya pounces on it, and she goes bishop d4, rook to e7. So white has a slight advantage in this position. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm so sorry I keep meddling with the board. Okay. Now, this is again an important moment for white here. This is a turning point here. Okay. Just for white in this position. What do you play if you are white in this position? What would you opt for? Any ideas? Thank you so much for the praise. Nice of you. Nice meeting all of you once again. Black to play in this position. White to play in this position. Okay, before we could suggest a move, white played queen b3. Queen b3 is a very good move here. But in fact, she had an even better move in this position, which was queen b1. So, what is the point? What is the difference between queen b3 and queen b1? This is very interesting. See, after the move which has been played on the board, queen b3, black can go for g6 here. She just frees herself. And now if, let us say, if queen b8 check, black can go, what can black go? Queen b8 check. Yeah, maybe just queen e8, yeah? This is fine for black here. The difference is, if when white goes queen b1, now g6 will be met with rook into g6. This is the point in this question. Of course, black gets two rooks for the queen. So after queen g6, you may want to survive with a move like king d8, but white will hunt the black king. And now this is a beautiful move in this position. Unfortunately, Leeches is showing all the moves before I ask you questions. Somewhere I'll try to find a way to, yeah, I'll take off the threats. Yes. Now life will become much more interesting for you. White has this beautiful attack, queen a6, threatening checkmate, threatening the queen on a6. This was a wonderful variation. So queen b3 missed the tactical equation. Okay, both the players are going quite low on time already. Harika has 7 minutes, Divya has 10 minutes. So here, Harika goes queen a6 check. Queen a6 check happens to be a small mistake. Looks like Harika is in pressure in this game. Any answer, guys? Why is queen a6 a small mistake? Anyone? What is the point behind? I'm sorry, what is wrong with Queen A6? Can anyone tell me? Press L and the moves will not be shown. Thank you so much for Rohit Reddy. But moves will not be shown as well as the eval bar will not be shown. Is that okay? Vivek, should we have the eval bar? Rohit Reddy suggests. Shall we take off the eval bar? We'll try without the eval bar for some time. So Queen A6 check, King G2. Now, if Black plays G6 in this position, I think it's all the same. Oh no, what is that? Harika just came up with C6. My instinct tells me this is not a good move. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, C6 is indeed a mistake. So some want eval bar, some do not want eval bar. Eval bar is already there below the board. No, I don't see it. Do you guys see it? I think you see it, yeah? Okay, anyway, please get back to the chess, guys. Come on. So here, what is wrong with this move C6? What can white do? Any suggestions? Divya has taken a lot of time for her last few moves and she has also reached equal time as Harika. Both are on 6 minutes here. This is something to do with, Queen B-H-ing F8, right? Brilliant. Divya played the best moves in this position. See here, as we were talking, instead of Queen A6 check, in case if Black had played G6 in this position, okay? So, let's say direct G6, Queen B8 check, Rook F8. Now, White has no continuation here. So, at this moment or at an earlier moment, White could have gone Queen B5, and this is slightly better in the endgame for White. Obviously, she has a pawn extra, so she will be slightly better here only. The point is, the move played in the game, King G2 C6. I'm guessing that Harika wanted to play C6 to stop Queen B5 as well. This is also one of her intentions. You know, when you are watching any game, always a very interesting viewpoint to have is please do not watch only moves. Also try to observe what would be the mind state of each of the players. So right now, basically, Harika feels that White's pawn structure on the queen side is not good. On the king side as well as not good. After all, just look at the fun. All White's pawns look isolated and she has doubled pawns as well. Yeah. This is a very fun thing to have. But what is going in White's favor is what is going in her moment. The momentum is on her favor is because of the dynamism here. You know, the bishop is on d4, the rook on g3 and rook on g1 are dynamically developed well on the g file, and the queen is ready to come for attack. So, relatively, White's pieces are having the upper hand when it comes to initiative. Whereas by playing c6, Harika was probably eager to bring the bishop as fast as possible into action here. That is probably what made her play c6 in the first place. So now queen b6, queen d8, queen b8, rook f8, queen d6, queen b7. Now this is a critical moment for white. Can we have any suggestions here? White has a beautiful win in this position. Believe me or not, white has a forced win in this position. What is it? My friend in YouTube, can you tell me how to stop live board here? Oh no, I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. How do I stop live moves? Uh-oh. Before I could take your thing, it came bishop into g7. Fantastic. What is bishop into g7? Anyone come up with the answer? Why is bishop into g7 a fantastic move? By the way, if you saw that, uh, she took about 1.5 minutes. Divya took about 1.5 minutes to a little less than 2 minutes to come up with bishop g7. Fantastic calculation. Once again, um, if you see this as a contest between two human beings, imagine the guts of playing bishop to g7, finding a move like bishop to g7 when it matters at a crucial moment. Divya is one of the best talents of this country among women, and in my opinion, she is a sure shot grandmaster and probably even beyond. Divya and Vaishali are the best of the next crop of women players in this country, and such moves like bishop into g7 confirm our beliefs that you know she is capable of a lot of achievements. It's only sad. I feel sad that in this particular game it comes at the uh, expense of Harika, another fantastic player. But of course, you'll feel the same way if Harika does it too, because she is obviously going to put it across. Divya, one of the best talents of this country. Okay, we can't have it both because only one of them will go through this quarterfinals to semifinals. Okay, now what remains in the position is how is White going to convert this position? So we call it as conversion technique. Once again, come on, chat, can anyone tell me? In this endgame of Queen versus Rook and Bishop, what is the most important moment? The key, I'm sorry, the most important element of this position which will enable White to win this game? Anybody? Oh, yeah. Arpit Bowser asked me as a very important question, which I'm extremely sorry. Instead of Queen G7, what happens to King G7? Any answers, anyone? What will happen in case of Queen King G7? I'll give you a clue. Okay, obviously first King H8 is I'm sorry, King H1 check, King H8 is a blunder because of so sorry. Queen if I check just wins the game. So, for king h1 check, king f7 is forced. White to play. What is the best move for white in this position? Let's see if you guys find it without a clue. Beautiful. Any answers? Very good. Yeah. Excellent. Queen e5 is the move. Vishwakarma, pawn x64 chess, Debanjan. Many of you have come with the. Okay, it looks like many of you want the eval bar, so I will bring the eval bar back. Okay, so here, Queen e5 is a beautiful move, winning the game after rook g7. This is the point. If I bring the eval bar back, I can't be asking any questions because the answer is being reflected on the board. Maybe I can switch off the eval bar and thank you. I'm learning today. Thank you so much. Okay, so king g7. Let's get back to the original question. Yeah, some of you had given me the answers in chat already. The most important element is the passed pawn, c5 pawn. Swaha, Om Fat Swaha. Is that your really name? Cool name, man. Jason Michael. So all of you had given me this answer of C pawn being the most important. Correct. C pawn is the most important in this position. Now, white has a nearly winning position. Okay, now the next question. Now the C7, C pawn cannot be pushed beyond C6. It has to be, now it is now standing on C7. Now give me a win. How to win this position with white? You still have to win this position. How will you do that? Very interesting. Many Sagar Shah fans here. I am also a fan of Sagar Shah, by the way. I really, really respect the work he has done. Just for chess, not for ChessBase India. Oh my God, what is Rook F6 check? Isn't she allowing C7 by some measure here? As we were talking, for Queen E6 check, Black played Rook F6, which was unexpected. But that's the only move, which means King G6 was not great. Okay, as we were talking here, White came up with this beautiful move, H6. Fantastic. Fantastic. So the point is going to the 8th rank is dangerous. So Black went King G6, Queen E6 check, Rook F6, and now Queen E7. Very nice move. The point of Queen E7 is, of course, C6 cannot be taken. It is dangerous to take C6 here. So can we see why it cannot take C6? Rook into C6. Okay. I'll switch off the eval bar again. Rook into Rook into C6. Queen. There are many moves to win in this question. The easiest is, I'm asking too simple a question, yeah? I should have taken a coaching from Sagar. What is the level of audience for today's game and what kind of questions I should have been asking? Yeah. Queen e4 check simply wins the game. So Queen e7, rook f7, queen e6, rook f3. There is just they're just repeating twice. Now, where is a win for white in this position? Anybody? Okay, white has gone queen g4 check, king into h6, queen d7. That is one way to win because now it looks like black cannot stop white from pushing the c6 pawn to c7. I was curious to see if instead of giving up the h6 pawn, was there any other way that white could have won this position? Maybe not, yeah. This was probably the best one. Okay. Fantastic play by Divya today. About 5 to 6 important moments of the game. Her tactical brilliance is very applaudable, you know. Playing the best moves and winning the position. Okay, your revolver is back. C7, bishop into c7, queen c7. Okay, this is a queen versus rook ending. This should be quite easily winning for Divya now. Okay, so we have the first game where Divya is winning right now with white pieces. So tie break, basically we have two games with a 15 minutes plus 10 seconds time control, which means after this game there will be one more game with Harika being white and Divya being black in the same time control. I'm assuming that this must be quite a simple win for Divya in this position, from this position. Okay, as they are winning this game, as they are playing this game, I want to ask you all one important question. Somewhere around this point in the game, yeah, queen d6, queen b7, yeah, in this position, instead of playing queen b7, my question will be, did black have anything else in that position? Yeah, as we talk, white has already won the game here. So instead of queen b7, what happens to queen e2? I wanted to ask all of you. Um, let's get rid of the old bar. For queen b7, you got a shot of bishop g7. Now, for queen e2, what is the best move on this position? As the game was happening, I had a question as to what would white do in this case to win the game. Here, if you saw, for a move like king h2, black could even think of rook into f2. This was my point. So let's assume that white plays king h1 here. Now, there is no threat except for rook into g7 direct straightforward, which can be guarded by black, right? So what happens to rook ff7 here? How will you win this position? Yeah, Harika resigned. Yes, Divya won the game. Correct. Yeah. This was the moment where I think simple Queen b8 check will immediately win the game because rook f8 is met with rook into g7 because now the rooks are loaded. So after queen e2, king h1, looks like it was a simple win for white anyway. g6, of course, I have rook into g6. So now we realize that this position was already a simple win for white after queen d6 by force. So it was this moment that the momentum tilted in favor of white completely. At this point, white had some advantage, but this was the actual blunder of the game. This was what I was curious to see because honestly, I didn't understand when it was happening. Where exactly Harika went wrong here? So that's it. So now I think there is a 2-minute break before the next round, next game of the round. Sagar Bhai kahan hai? Sagar Bhai is on duty at Las Vegas, reporting on the freestyle chess which concluded yesterday. I hope all of you followed that. Another brilliant tournament which was won by Aronian. Yeah, there is one more game, the second game of tiebreak. Perhaps I should be looking for it. Yeah, hold on. There we go. This is the game. Let's wait for it. So, should I keep the eval bar on or off? Any opinion? Did we have any super chats? I'm so sorry I didn't. Okay, eval bar must be on is a suggestion, but I can turn off the best mode. Okay. How do I turn off the best mode? Yeah. Now, yes. Finally, I got it. Nice of you guys. So we have the evaluation bar on, but not the best move arrow anymore. Good. Life will be much better now. I have a question for all of you who are on chat here. In this World Cup, whom do you think is who is your favorite? Who is your favorite? Of course, uh, Humpy and whoever wins this match will definitely be our favorites. But do you think that is the strongest player in this tournament? Whom do you think is the strongest player in the tournament? I'm just curious to know your favorites. Divya, Lei Tingjie, Netra Bhatta, you are my great friend. Say your favorite is Saravanan. Come on. Humpy, All Indians. Next game time. We are not actually aware of the time. I feel it will be a couple of minutes, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like after the Indian Grandmasters, the favorite here is Lei Tingjie. Yeah. Stylistically, there is a very big difference between Humpy and Divya. Humpy and Harika are closer in style. When they started off, Humpy was the original endgame genius. Humpy had this rare talent even at the age of 12. She was a fantastic endgame player. Do you guys know this? The best players in the history of chess, at least 80-90% of them, all had a special flair for endgames. This is a very curious reason. This is a curious fact. There is a reason for that. I would ask you to guess the reason first. Why the best players in the world were all endgame specialists? Or you can put it this way, the best players in the history of chess were all having is a special liking for endgames. Any opinion? Any reason why this could be? A very interesting question. This is a very deep reason. When you play chess, you are a good player if you know what each piece is capable of doing. Very basic, this is. And the area where the each and every individual piece get its best momentum, best activity is the end game, including the king. Every other part of the game, pieces will have some restrictions because of the pawn structure and all those things. But it is the end game where pieces get their maximum momentum. And the best players in the world in the history of chess are those who always knew how to handle their pieces the best. This is a deep reason. Of course, it is not my reason. This is one of the uh, wisdoms of the great Mark Dvoretsky. So, whenever you see a young player who is excellent in endgame, you can be rest assured that you have a huge talent here. And many of the talents whom I've been fortunate to witness till their young days, they were all very good endgame players. Um, Humpy is one, Surishekar Ganguly is one, Pentala Harikrishna is one, Sashi Kiran is one. These are all the players whom I have seen in their youth growing up. And they were all fantastic endgame players. So when she was growing up, Humpy had this very big ability for endgame one. And second is calculation, you know, precision in calculation. This is another thing. We all think that calculation is a skill which can be developed by lots of effort and hard work. It's a skill which can be learned like any other skill. Correct, but not completely correct. Just as intuition is, let's say, intuition in playing an end game, intuition in playing a middle game position, just that way, there is something called tactical intuition. You know, at some point, you know that in this position, I have a shot, I have a combination, I have a sacrifice coming up. So, tactics also for a genius chess player, it is part of their intuition. So, children, very talented children had a tactical intuition in themselves also. So, any young player who has this natural ability to calculate fast also generally turns out to be very good. Yeah. So, Humpy was one of those rare combinations of very good end games and very good tactics. Stylistically, from her youth, whatever we have been all watching Divya shows that special um, vision for tactics. Again, like today's Bishop to G7, or was it Rook to G7? Bishop to G7, yeah, Bishop to G7. Um, very nice to see a young talent who is so sharp in calculation. Of course, I haven't seen her in game. Sorry about that. Current example is Magnus. Yeah, soccer. Current example is Magnus, or I should say, old example is Magnus. I'm just joking. Um, Magnus Carlsen was, of course, a endgame genius. We all know that. Did I miss any super chat? So before we go, I've been reminded that there will be two games of, yeah, okay. I think we knew all this, so I didn't read it out to you. So we'll have a tiebreak of two games with 15-10 time control. And if that doesn't break the tie, then we have two games of 10 plus 10 time control. If that doesn't break a tie, we have two games of 5 plus 3 time control. If that doesn't work out, we have one game with a time control of 3 plus 2 time control. If that doesn't work out, we go for 3 plus 2 once more. And finally, if nothing decides, then okay, we keep on going with 3 plus 2 till the tie is broken. That's what uh, the tiebreak rules are. So theoretically, we may be having this going on forever, this particular match. But of course, Divya has won the first game, which means it puts Harika in some pressure. Okay, so this is one. And then I see Harika as between these two. Harika is a theoretician. Her biggest strength is theory. And another of Harika's biggest strength as a chess player is she's a all-rounder. You know, she is a person who is capable of any kind of chess among women players. That is why her staying power. She has stayed in the top of women chess for more than a decade now. Yeah. So in a certain way, today we can say that Divya is a tactical player, and Harika is a player capable of playing tactics as well. Why I was why I wanted this conversation with all of you is that now in the next game, what is the best strategy for Harika to get her revenge? Any suggestions from any of you? Any suggestions? How should Harika conduct the next game? Any suggestions? Hello, all. Many of you are joining the stream only now. Nice welcoming you. Attack. Anamika Bhatnagar. Play solid, less sharp game. Meghna. Play positional opening and drawish lines closed positions. Why play drawish lines when we have to win the game, Devanjan? Since Harika has white, she can opt for an opening that allows strong positional play. Amit Rao Human. Yes. This would be my line of thinking too. To play an opening which will give a good positional pressure, create a good positional pressure, but go for complexity in positional game. This would be a suggestion. Yeah. So once again, Harika is capable of playing both e4 and d4. So I would expect Harika to play one d4 followed by a complex opening. Yeah. That is basically what we are expecting in the second game. Catalan or Rilopus? Yeah. Neeraj Nambudri. Yeah. Catalan would be a very good option. Well chosen. Definitely a d4 opening will come. Where is Sagar Shah? Question. Sagar Shah is asleep in Las Vegas. Of course. Rohit Gujrar. Well said. Play a line that would be unprepared. Ram, but how would we know where Divya would be unprepared? Yeah, that's difficult to answer, right? So it would be basically a game where there will be a lot of positional pressure. That is one. There is one more theory about openings. There are new openings, there are old openings. QGD is an old opening, for example. Berlin is a relatively new opening. Queen's Indian defense is an old opening. Comparatively, Ragozin is a new opening. Both are played after, both Ragozin and Queen's Indian are played after d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3. This is another theory. Reviving old openings is a good idea in crucial games. The reason is that it is reverse psychology, reverse logic. Typically, youngsters feel there is nothing new to be learnt in old openings. So, a surprise nowadays is to bring back what can be not a surprise, what need not be a surprise. So, play old openings. So, these are all some of the professional secrets that players employ at the highest levels. We should also be thinking about, such an important game. How Harika will be handling this game will be very interesting. Uh, the most decisive game in the history of chess when one player had to win the game to equalize the score. I'll ask you as a question first. The most important game in the history of chess when twice it happened, unfortunately. So, twice in the history of chess, the last game had to be won. Do you know when it was? So, one was the 1987 World Championship match between Karpov and Kasparov. Yes, Karthik Kumar just got it. And the second was, of course, Peter Liko Kramnik match when Kramnik had to win the last game. That was 2006, I think. 6 or 2005. Yeah, it was 2004. I'm sorry. 2004 it was. So the 1987 He played the um, symmetrical English and went into a very, very old position. Yeah, that was extremely interesting. Looks like the game will start in 12 minutes. Are we all stuck with each other for 12 minutes? So, Kasparov later on describes why he did not play any sharp opening. He wanted to play a position which is long lasting, which will put pressure for a lengthy period of time on his opponent. So, a long fight in which you squeeze your opponent's nerves. Yeah. So, that was basically the option of Kasparov there. So, I think that is what Harika will be aiming for in this game also. Okay, we have information that the game will start after 10 more minutes. So I think let us also have a break. Yeah. So I will also have a break and come back after 10 minutes. So, sorry to disturb you. They've started early. So we come back to the game. Disturb you. I once again started early. So now we just let out the conversation. Yeah. That Harika will look for a long drawn game. That is precisely what is happening. Harika has gone for the Reti opening. So Reti is a hypermodern opening. The characteristic of a hypermodern opening is when you allow your opponent to build a center and then you strike at the center. Okay. Now, from hypermodern, from Reti, now Harika has transposed it something like a Slav defense game. Sorry. So this is interesting because in these kind of positions, when white has already played d4 and black has played d5, the light square bishop is away. Yeah. The point is, there are two arguments for it. Whether to give this bishop away or to let it stay in this diagonal forever is a very interesting argument. See, for example, in such a type of a position, yeah, white has gone knight c3. So here white is threatening knight h4 in this position. Yeah, by playing knight h4, attack the bishop on f5. So this is basically the intention. So with that intention, white is covering the e4 square. I'm sorry. With that knight on c3, she's covered in the e4 square. Okay. This is indeed interesting. Divya is not overtly worried about white playing knight h4 here. So let's say if white plays a move like queen b3, the point is I make you support b6 with a queen c7 or queen b6, either of these two moves. Okay, this will be met with c5. So generally black goes queen c7, not wishing to. That's what happened in the game as well. White played queen b3. Okay, so all that is happening now. Queen b6, queen c3, c5 has happened, queen b3, ab3. I was about to say that this is a position that black should not get into, and that is happening. Okay, this is even more interesting, guys. Long drawn out, pressurizing, yes, but directly to an end game. That's a very big surprise. Okay, now in this version, there is a very nice piece of wisdom. Okay, what do you think about the bishop on f5? I cannot ask more than this. There is a reason why I'm putting the question this way. What do you think about the bishop on f5 in this position? To understand this position, it is very important to understand this bishop right now. So, any answer? Any answer? Rohit Reddy, Harika exchange queen, which is weird. I was about to come to that. Sometimes this is another thing. We feel that the queen is the most important piece on the board because a queen is the most dynamic. So we feel that when the queen is chopped away, the position becomes dull, slow. But that also makes the players who have to defend a little lethargic. Queen has already been exchanged, so there is nothing more to worry in this position. That is human psychology. So, a position where your opponent has exchanged queens, but still you have to defend, this is where you have to be really, really careful. You get what I mean? Yeah. Okay. Any answers about the bishop on f5? Yeah, it doesn't allow e4. Good. E4 opening sack says it is not allowed. Agent 47, whatever says abandoned bishop. Okay. It blocks castling. Okay. Any other answer about the bishop on f5? Nigel Short was on a visit to India about 3 years ago. So he was talking about, he was commenting on a game in the Karakan defense, and precisely a bishop on f5 he was commenting on. You know, when we are beginners, we are told that the bishop on f5 is very strong because this bishop has been placed out of the pawn chain. Yeah. So because it is out of the pawn chain, this bishop is very strong. But then we take a closer look and we see that the bishop on f5, even though it is out of the pawn chain, it doesn't have a role to play in the game. See, for example, apart from this e4 control, the black bishop almost has no future in terms of generating a threat and so on. Yeah, this is very important. But of course, he will get the e4 square for sure. But how useful it would be, we don't know. Okay, let's come back to this game. We have talked a lot of philosophy. Now, the next question, this pawn on b4 is very curious. You know, white can never go b5 in this position. All of you know that. That is one of the reasons why black has just played 94. See, in this position, it was interesting for b4 a6 now. Why white did not play b5? So it's very interesting. Because after all, I'm undoubling a pawn by playing this, and playing double. Yeah. Very interesting here. Now, if you come back, it's a little too deep. Black plays rook of c8. Idea is to play b6, and black obtains counterplay here. So, this is a rare position where undoubling a piece is not necessary or essential. Keeping it as it is fine. That is why white played bishop 4 here, just developing. So now 94, black permanently takes away. G4, bishop G6, a little bit of expansion. Okay, now watch very carefully. Okay, how is white going to progress in this position? What is white going to do in this position? Very interesting moment. Please think. Any answers? Let me wait for. Passive piece. See my comment. All the pawns are on light square. It says Nalan or Mugan. Okay. H4, yes. H4 is indeed a nice move. Anything else? Knight E5 suggests Om. H4, H5 suggests Arith Lodh. Okay. Yeah, okay. There are many moves in this position. There are many good moves in this position. Okay, here, unfortunately, Divya went for E3. This could have been a little more active. The point is H4, H6 now. Now something like E3. Yeah. Now, slowly what happens in this position is that white should make this bishop lose its importance. It's a very important thing to do. Of course, it's easier said than done. Yeah. See, for example, in the current position on the board right now, black can take knight into c3, bc3, bishop e4. Yeah. Very, very interesting thing to do. Now, this is a moment where, oh, it has happened. It has happened, but without the h4 thing, it happened. e3, knight c3, bc3, bishop e4 has directly been played. Okay. This is an important moment. White cannot play b5. Yeah. Now the black bishop has also got a lot of activity by playing on e4. It has obtained a life for itself. Curious, how is white going to continue in this position? Ouch. Castles. That was unexpected. Yet there was a very interesting plan for white to play rook g1. Okay, guys, this may be a little boring for you because there are no queens off the board, and what are we doing in this position? Maybe maybe a natural thing to think. What am I doing in this position without the queens on the board? Yeah. Now this is where it gets very interesting. Let me just play some moves on the board, okay? Let me play some moves without any um, reason on the board. Let me play moves which are not committal, okay? So f6, okay? This is where the game will set off. Most important now, try to think of this position from black pieces. There are absolutely no concrete plans for black to play. This is where you should understand. I will repeat once again. You may think in this position, white has nothing to do. Yeah. What can white gain? How is white going to pressurize in this position? This is what you may think. But white has at least some promise in this position. He can develop something in the king side. But when it comes to black, there is absolutely nothing that he can kind of do in this position. Okay. Someone is suggesting to play e5. This is precisely what I wanted to say. Bishop g3, now I'm threatening d e5. If you give up the bishop, for example, believe me or not, this is a completely better position for white to play. Can anyone tell me why? What suddenly changed in this position that white is completely better in this position? Any questions? I'm sorry, any answers? Any answers? Peace activity, bishop pair. Bishop pair, Shreyansh Thakur. Bishop pair, Shreyans, think about it. Didn't we learn from our first standard that bishop pair is of no use when the position is closed? This is a super close question now. Why is bishop pair so can even be a factor in this question? Think about it. Yes, the closest correct answer is given by Nalan Arumugan. Black is passive. That's the point here. Imagine you are playing the World Cup quarterfinals. I hope all of you know the significance of the World Cup. The top three finishers of the World Cup get to play the women candidates match. That is the most significant competitive importance of this tournament. Okay. So you are in the quarterfinals and you are one shot away from qualifying to the candidates. Okay. Four people will reach, and among them, three have to qualify. Yeah. In this position, if you are black suddenly and if you have nothing to do, what will you do on the board at all? That's the point here. Yeah. Whereas, watch carefully, white has this pawn break. Very, very important here. And if black closes the position with something like e4, I come back. Now I have this pawn break. The point I'm trying to make is here, white has all the breaks. That's the point here. So it is passivity. So thinking all of that, rook g1 could have been a nice move, but Divya went for castle. Okay, still all those logics remain, but only thing is now the white rook is on f1 instead of g1. That is the only difference here. Let's go. This was a bit of a strange decision. Why Harika exchanged f3 even before she got provoked? Probably this is what I can think of. If black plays a move like f6, Harika did not like knight d2, bishop d3, king d3 because none the bishop gets exchanged for bishops. Probably Harika felt, like one of you told in chat, probably Harika felt that this is a closed position, so let me give up my bishop for my opponent's knight. I'm going to ask all of you a very, very easy question, extremely easy question. Who is the most famous player in the history of chess who loved his knights over the bishops? Most easiest question. Who is the player in the history of chess who loved his knight compared to the bishop? Yes. Vedant Godbole, you got it within a few seconds. I'm very proud of you. मैं हूं आयुष से समय I'm extremely sorry. I didn't know the games of some I have not studied. I'm extremely sorry. I'm just joking. Sama is a nice guy, of course. Mihal Tal. Yeah. Vishy, of course. Nothing like Vishy. So in this position, Harika does a Vishy. She gives up a bishop even before Divya does a Vishy. She gives up the bishop even before Harika asks for it. Bishop f3, knight f8, e4. Okay. Now I think all of you can understand the logic behind e4. Yes, e4 is indeed a nice move, but here Harika missed a beautiful move. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Can anyone of you guys find it? Knight f8 looks very logical because Divya wanted to somehow reroute it to the g square or to bring the king to d7. Either of that, but she missed something very beautiful here, Harika. She played e4, but she missed something very beautiful. Okay, some of you are giving me the correct answer. I sincerely hope all of you did not check your engine, did not do this. Here, there was a beautiful, beautiful chance, opportunity for white to play b5. Beautiful. The point of b5 is if cb5, c4. Wow. This is a move which you can tell your grandkids actually. This is what I did. Rook bc1. Now let us say rook a7 is not possible because of bishop b8. Rook b8 is of course not possible. So this is basically where you coolly get your b7 pawn back and you have a lot of initiative. Okay, such a move is not easy to see on the board. So Harika went for e4. Okay, white still has some advantage nevertheless. e4, knight g6, bishop g3, d e4. Well, apply your logic. Is d4 okay or not? What do you think? Chat, you know, I'm on the elder side of life. And of course, being here is completely your wish. But as someone who loves chess, someone who loves the game of chess, I I love chess as well as I'm still learning on a daily basis even now. The best thing to do in such broadcasts is that, stay relevant to the discussion and try to enjoy the game. This moment will not come back. We can do our discussions about gender and all that later. Just look at the position right now. I asked a question. Try to think, and this is basically how you can also develop your love for the game by asking yourself questions. Improving chess is very easy. Keep a chessboard in front of you, keep a game collection in front of you, play over the games of chess, ask yourself questions. So, e4, black took d cross e4. Why? Sorry, is this a good move or not? No answer yet. Not okay. Yes, it is not okay because it opens up the position unnecessarily. Remember, having the knight means keeping in close position. Somewhere now, this bishop on e4 has the capacity to become a monster in the long run. Remember, two bishops is advantageous. This position has the potential to become advantageous for white with the two bishops. So I feel that d4, even though it is not a major mistake or so, somewhere along This has the potential to give an advantage to white in the long term basis. Remember, I was discussing with you Kasparov's game where Kasparov had a long drawn out advantage against Karpov and managed to defeat Karpov. This was the kind of a long drawn out advantage that Kasparov gave for Karpov gave for Kasparov. Just doing a small technical thing here. I got a pad. I'll just change it. Okay, as we speak, one more concern for Divya in this question is that she has 8 minutes to Harika's 12 minutes. So that's a gain of 4 minutes on the clock as well. So far, I feel this game is slowly turning Harika's way. I'm not telling upper hand for Harika, slowly turning Harika's way. Mainly because of the light square bishop on e4, which is unchallenged. The Because black doesn't have its counterpart on the board ready, this position is slightly better for black. This is what I feel. Okay. I got an even better way to look at all the chats. Good news. Okay, so let's see. Right now it is white to play. She plays f4, bishop h4, bishop h2. That sounds a little strange. f4, bishop h4. Here, I have this feeling that white has a very interesting move. Can anyone tell me white to play? Is there any interesting choice for white here? Then what was played in the game? Bishop h2. Bishop h2 is a very perfectly fine move because it preserves all the pieces on the board. But I have a feeling that white had good tactics here. Give me a variation, please, not just one move. Yes. Anunath Singh. I hope I got your name correctly. So Anunath Singh first came up with this. Bishop into h4, knight into h4, f5. And this bishop is in some trouble. So, I'm sorry, the knight is in some trouble. Of course, it will take a long time for white to go and attack it. But the point is, the guy on h4 stays very irrelevant to the game. The knight on the rim is dim. Many of you might have heard. Okay, so that didn't happen. So white played bishop h2 in this position. Bishop h2, knight e7. Bishop h2 is a poor mistake according to the computer because now suddenly after bishop h2, knight e7, white is finding it difficult to come up with a nice plan in this position. This is quite unfortunate for Harika. Anyway, she goes f5 anyway. So Harika wants to gain her initiative. She pushes f5. Black gets the knight to d5, a commanding square, and white plays rook f3, supporting c3. Okay. Question to all of you. What do you think about the bishop on h4? Is it a strong piece or not for black? Take your time before answering. Is bishop h4 a strong piece or not? No. Good piece. Since, okay, I think what Shreyan Thakur wanted to say was it guards the dark squares around the black king. Excellent. That's the point here. Actually, the bishop on h4 is quite an interesting piece because white is not able to proceed with anything on the king side because of the bishop on h4. Okay. Black goes rook f e8. Okay. This game is turning out to be a little error prone. Here, Harika had a chance to play f e6 for rook f e8. The point of f e6 is if black takes rook e6, white had bishop d5, c d5, b5, and this endgame is pretty good for white. Main thing is I'm going to go f5 and attack d5 as well as b5 gives me a lot of options, the long run. First thing is I can go c6 if I want, many options here. So this was possible. And instead of rook e6, if you take f e6, I can probably play bishop d6. And in the long run, I can hope to benefit by the pawn on e6. This was another thing. Okay. It's a little technical, all these things. But yeah, white had the chance, but she didn't do it. He played rook f1. Okay, now Divya went bishop f6. Okay, those things which I was telling earlier still hold. Yeah, Harika got the right move here. She went f6 here. So once again, f e6, and white has a solid positional advantage here. Okay, this is very important right now. It looks as if white cannot make progress easily. Yeah, after all, the f file is guarded well. How can white make progress? It looks like. Any idea here? Chat, you have any idea how white can improve his position? Well, Divya played bishop f6 because she just wanted to, shut down the file. Nothing more, nothing less. She just wanted to close the file, so she played bishop f6. Bishop into d5 has been suggested. That's a move that you should not do because, you are giving up that very powerful bishop in this position. Okay. This is a little difficult to convey. There is nothing much that white can do immediately in this position. Yeah. So what you do is that you improve your position slowly. For example, you play a move like king g2 first. Okay, she played king h1 on the board. Okay. Somewhere she has an idea to play rook g1 and g5. I have a feeling. Let's see. There is absolutely no tactics in this position. So the key to playing this position is to roll your pawns on the king side. So like bishop g3 with the idea of h4. Yeah. So these are the moves that we are expecting. And remember what we had predicted early in the game. There is nothing much that black can do in this position. That is where white gets all advantage. By the way, one worrying factor for Divya is that she has less than 1 minute on her clock. To have a minus position and then to be low on the clock is a dangerous combination in any decisive game. Typically, they say every coach says is should tell his students, last round, never be less than your opponent in time on the clock. Very, very sound advantage. One of the most practical grandmasters of our country, of history, as he was an Olympian as well, M.R. Venkatesh. His whole chess sounded rounded on one particular philosophy. Always keep 5 minutes more than your opponent on the game, on the clock. So this to be less than 1 minute in such an important game, this is something Divya should have done without. But the crucial question here is how is white going to continue? Already, I think, yeah, that's the move suggested by Anjaneya Toshniwal. Bishop g3 is indeed a nice move in this position. Again, as I said, keep the pieces as well as push the pawns on the king side. Yeah. So bishop g3 can be a good move here. Let's see what Harika thinks. Harika plays, I'm sorry. Harika is taking her time as well. That's a little surprising because isn't it kind of obvious that white bishop should come back to g3? Probably she wants to make sure of it. Yeah, it has happened. Bishop g3, rook f8 has happened. Okay. Now again the $1,000,000 question. How is white going to continue? Is he going to play h4 as we thought or something else? This is such a Harika kind of position, says Karthik Kumar. Harika kind of position means strategic position, I suppose. And opposite to Divya's style and time situation add to all this. Yes, Karthik, I agree with most of your concerns. This is basically slightly better or almost equal, but what makes the difference is time, and this is a position which suits Harika's style more than Divya's style. Yeah, Nalan Arumugam. We have to improve the position slowly, but it's actually not so easy to find a way to do that, To find a way to improve the position slowly, it's not very easy to do that. Okay. She has gone for a very puzzling move here. Bishop e1. This may be one of the points of bishop e1. Later on, when black captures rook f3, yeah, that has happened on the board. If black captures rook f3, and rook f8, yeah, now white can boldly go for rook into f8 because c3 is already captured, and this is where the white pawns might get to roll with something like c4. Oh, sorry, I just made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Bishop and f8. h7 is hanging, of course. So this is a kind of position where I play c4 and I have a slight advantage in endgame. Yeah. So with bishop e1, white gets ready if black exchanges all the rooks. There's another important and interesting question. I need to win the game. Shouldn't I be worried if all the pieces keep getting exchanged? It's a very important question. There's a very old saying. The problem with those who kept on exchanging pieces, thinking that exchanging pieces leads to simpler positions, the problem with them is that it's not always chop, chop, chop becomes a draw. Chop, 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 and you may get chopped off out of the board. Obviously, it's not my quotation. I didn't make it up, by the way. I think it was one of those English grandmasters who said it, either Mickey Adams or there was this old grandmaster named Norwood. I think it was one of his jokes. The problem is chop, chop, chop is chop, chop, chop may not end in a draw. You may get chopped off the board. So white need not be worried about the rooks getting exchanged. That was the point. So black anyway did not go for a rook exchange. She went for bishop f6 and rook d3. One of the psychologies behind bishop f6 is that Black might have wanted to play e5. Anyway, Harika didn't mind that. She went bishop d2. Bishop d2, if you saw, had a small threat here, g6, to play g5 here. Yeah, this is a little interesting. H6. Why defense is always difficult in chess is because of moves like this. When you play h6, you do not know whether you are stopping a threat or whether you are weakening a position. For example, when you play h6, the light squares around the black king get weakened. Somewhere in the future, there is a tactic of bishop to d5 followed by bishop to h6, for example, because it's not working. But something like this. It's not working right now because of bd4, but when you play a move like h6, such questions will always remain in your mind. Very interesting. Again, as I said before the game, queens off the board, I'm sorry, at the beginning of the game, queens off the board does not mean that the game of chess gets not interesting. You just have to learn to see the game in its nuances. And when you observe these small nuances, that is when chess gets extremely interesting. Yeah. So h6, bishop d2, h6, rook d3, bishop g5, bishop e1, knight f6. I don't like knight f6. Why knight f6 looks bad? Because let's say if I keep my bishop on g6 as I had wanted, now I'm creating a mosquito here to play h4. That's the first concern. So knight f6 kind of jams this bishop on g5. So it's a little uncomfortable, but of course, Divya has only 30 seconds on her clock. We are sitting at our homes or wherever you are comfortable and looking at a position with all our computers and everything looks so nice for us. Over the board, to have this position, that's where you just don't know whether you can play it or not. Anyway, okay, moves are rolling by fast now. All this happened again, quite fast. I think Divya is playing her moves very fast. H4, bishop f6, bishop g3, rook 8, bishop g6, 97. Okay, they're playing extremely fast, as I told. Bishop c2, 95. Okay, this is the position in our hand right now. Okay, nothing much has changed in terms of evaluation. White still has a slight advantage in the position. But the question remains, how can black continue? Can he play a5 in these kind of positions? Highly unlikely, I think. Why did she go rook 8? Good question by Rohit Reddy. See, at any point, if life becomes very difficult on the king side or in the center, rook 8 will always be helpful in playing a5. It's always useful to keep a break in your hand. Knight e7, attacking bishop on g6, bishop comes back to e4. There was a very interesting move here, h5, but I think it's very difficult to play it over the board. More like h5, knight g6, bg6, hg6, because you never know whether g6 is a weakness or a strength in the long run. So Harika came back bishop e4, Divya came back bishop d, knight d5. Yeah, king h2. There is this Vishy Anand's favorite comedy, Yes, Prime Minister and Yes, Minister, two British comedies. In that, there is a way that people talk in a particular episode about better than make a wholesome war, the best thing to do is to do salami tactics. So salami tactics is when you chop your opponent's opportunities little by little. More like king h2 is salami tactics. King h2, king g3. Try to see if g5 is possible. Yeah. Yeah. See, for example, after king h2, king h3, now the bishop gets relieved from attack, supporting the pawn on h4. Yeah. So, black goes for rook exchange. That's very interesting. Any idea, guys? Is rook exchange desirable in this question? By the way, black has 30 minutes, 30 seconds, and white has 3 minutes. That's where we stand. Salami tactics. The white king goes to g3. I think black has to go knight g6, maybe a good square than going. Yeah, it's very interesting, guys. Going to knight g6 here means you are attacking h4. And if you go king h3 back, knight g3 is perpetual. So almost forced to play h5. This is another thing about Salam. Oh, I'm sorry. h5 is a blunder. Hey, did we strike on a draw here? Forced draw? Oh, yeah. Oh, dear. Did she miss it? Yeah, she missed it, guys. Okay, I'm not really disappointed that she missed it. I'm a fan of Harika as well. Knight d5 would have given Divya a much needed draw because h5 falls to bishop h4, which is very dangerous because this bishop will come and go on a rampage on the queen side. Yeah, so it's really, really sad. This is the reason why in chess you should never come into time pressure. See, white has got her advantage once again. Advantages once again. Yeah. The king on g3, pawn on h4 and g4, and two bishops. Okay. The key to this position for white is to push c4 at some point. That is how this game will develop. Okay. Bishop e2, bishop d8, bishop e4, bishop c7, check, king f3. White still doesn't have much of an advantage. Very interesting. She goes g5. I have my doubts on this move. In such a position, when you have an advantage, it is better to, cash your trumps by playing c4 with the idea of b5 later on so as to create a weakness on the queen side. Or at least get that knight guy out of b5. That might have been a better. Anyway, white goes g5, 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 a5. Okay. As you can all see, a5 is a move which we discussed much earlier. Here the idea of a5 is simple. Black just wants to exchange as many pawns as possible. When you have material advantage, exchange material. When you have a positional advantage, again exchange material. But when you are less on positional advantage, also you exchange material so that the pressure comes down. It's a little confusing. It's a little difficult to explain. Typically, in a position where you are defending, lesser material, easier to defend. That's the logic. So that's why. Can we play g6? That's a very good question. Maybe not. You need not hurry with g6. Okay. A before C before happened. There was a nice argument here. Why not play a4? Typically in positions where you create passes and you allow your opponent to create passes, that is where the two bishops will come into their element. So that was the reason why Divya should not have played a4. She did not play a4 as well. So remember what I said? Okay. An important thing has happened. There is no more c4 in this position. That works a lot in Divya's favor. I think somewhere here Harika has messed up her position. Don't disrespect meant. Somewhere here it was important that Harika should have played c4, force the knight to go wherever she has to, and stop a5. By allowing a5 and a cross b4, a very important shift has happened. This d5 knight is unassailable now. This position is becoming almost impossible to win for white after this. I have a feeling. Okay, so things happen fast again. Okay, now Harika is bringing her king to c4 to play b5, I believe. Okay, this is a game for Divya to lose, not for Harika to win. What I mean is, unless Divya commits mistakes, it's very difficult for Harika to win this position. See, for example, here, instead of bishop f3, what was played in the game? If white plays something like king c4, black can keep the bishop on f2. The point is, it stops b5 from coming because the d4 pawn is hanging. You get me, right? So, okay, Divya goes knight c7. Idea also is to stop b5. Not bad either. I'm sorry, good either. King e4. What is white doing here? I don't think there is any real plan behind king e4. The idea of king e4 is white wants to play bishop f4 now and exchange the bishop. I think white's reasoning, Harika's reasoning is that the white bishop on e4 is worse than the black bishop on g3. So I think she wants to exchange the bishop. Okay. So bishop e2, king f7. No, she didn't do that. Okay. Here, now king f3. Ooh, that was an one more blunder. King f7 was a blunder. You know why? White could have played bishop f4, bishop f4, king f4. If you keep waiting, king e5, king e7, bishop d3, and this position is winning for white. So inadvertently, black just played one move missing this tactics, and white also missed it and went king f3. That's a tragedy. It's all happening, guys. Yeah, Divya is down to her last 15 seconds. Yeah, in that particular position, exchanging of the bishops was winning for white indeed. Okay, Harika lost the opportunity. So much drama as we can all expect. By the way, suddenly Harika has started getting pressure on her own position. Black has played bishop e1 and is now attacking the pawn on b4. Okay, his last two moves have shifted the tempo in favor of black suddenly. This move was a mistake to play bishop e3. So somewhere here itself, I think she took it a little easily. She should have gone bishop c4 and waited. So she went bishop e4. And suddenly now, Harika has lost a pawn. Divya winning, says Lakshit. Winning is still a long shot. After all, white has two bishops to hold the game. Suddenly, the position has become something that Divya cannot lose, which means looks like Divya's path to the semifinals is getting smoother, but she is less on time. Harika blunders. Really? Bishop into b5, c into b5, king e4. Uh-oh. Bishop into b5 is a very unfortunate move because it creates an amazing passer for black. Guys, from being drawing the game now, Divya is winning the game because she is a simple pawn up in a same color bishop ending. Divya Deshmukh, unless she loses on time, she is now through to the semifinals. That's what it looks like. A very nice viewpoint is told by our own man, arbiter Vivek. Harika played the moves with Divya's tempo of quick moves. Very correct. Divya was playing fast. Harika also played fast with the hope that playing fast will make Divya make mistakes. But in fact, playing fast, it was Harika who made the mistake. This is another thing. When you observe this game, as we have already discussed a lot, Divya is a very successful tactical player, and such players generally will be very quick on their thinking. So, playing in time pressure will not be very difficult for them. That's the reason why she has played quite well. Okay, it's very difficult to see this game anymore because, Black is just completely winning now. Bishop d8. Okay, question for all of you. What is the most important principle of same color bishop ending? 90% of same color bishop endings are won by an important endgame principle. What is it? It's not an endgame principle, it's a regular principle. What is it? Okay, Black has won the game, by the way, by playing b3. I think the king went to d4 because they were arranging the board with king d4 and king e5. Okay, that's the end of the game. Let's all congratulate Divya Deshmukh. She defeats Dronavalli Harika 2-0 in the tiebreak of the quarterfinals of the World Cup, Women's World Cup 2025, and moves on to the semi-finals of the Women's World Cup. A very deserving victory for this brilliant young woman who has a very bright future ahead of her. In Indian women chess today, 3 girls, Divya Deshmukh, Vaishali, and Vantika Agarwal. They seem to be the 3 brightest young stars of the country, and this particular win gives Divya another. It gets her closer. It gets her closer to getting into the candidates this year itself, which will be an amazing result for her. So with this win, she is going to meet Tan Zhongyi, one of the biggest favorites of this World Cup. So at one side of the draw, we have Tan Zhongyi versus Divya Deshmukh for the next match, and another we have Lei Tingjie versus Panaru Humpy. 2 Indians will be playing with 2 Chinese in the semi-finals of the World Cup 2025, Women's World Cup 2025. That is going to be a mouth-watering contest. Yeah, we have everything to look forward to. We are trying to have live relay of those matches also in ChessBase India. If it materializes, we will see you all once again there. So, quickly, I want to show you just one thing in this game from the opening. So, this was basically a reti position. So, the first important moment of the game was, of course, queen into b3. But after that, I felt that the second important moment came when, in these kind of positions, this was an early bishop into f3, which was not needed. She lost precious time here, Divya Deshmukh. All this gave Harika a good advantage. This was the most important moment that Harika missed. Bishop h2. She should have taken bishop on h4 and played f5. Personally, I think where Harika's advantage started getting diminished was this kind of an ending. She postponed playing c4 too much. I think that was the reason. Any of these positions, she still had some chances to play for a win if she had continued with a move like c4 at this point. Instead of that, not playing c4 and delaying c4 is where, unfortunately, Harika went wrong. Okay. And after this, we all know what happened. Okay, guys. So nice talking to you. I think we are at the end of our broadcast today. So, shall we say our goodbyes? So, thank you all for tuning in into this quickly commissioned show. I thank ChessBase India, Sagar Shah, and company for giving me an opportunity to meet all of you once again. Nice spending a couple of hours with you. We should also thank Vivek Sohani, who did the technical part of today's hosting the show. So, thank you so much, and let's call it a day. Goodbye.